Hi everyone, Auntie Lexi here. Trails in the Sky FC, which I'll be calling the original version for clarity, is a game whose design has outlasted its presentation. For longtime gamers, its dated look and sound are part of the charm, standing as a historical milestone that shows how revolutionary its gameplay was and how approachable and relatable its story and characters remain. But for newcomers, the hurdle is undeniable. The 2D visuals and old-school audio can be a tough sell, especially when compared to later arcs like Trails of Cold Steel or Trails Through Daybreak, which simply look more attractive by modern standards. Add to that the daunting commitment of starting such a massive saga from the very beginning, and it's no wonder many hesitate to begin here. That is why Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake matters. It not only champions the many reasons longtime Trails fans insist, sometimes even demand, that newcomers begin here, but it also rises to the sky-high expectations of JRPG fans by delivering both gameplay and presentation worthy of FC's story and characters. Trails in the Sky FC introduces Estelle Bright and Joshua, a boy her father adopted when they were children. Though not related by blood, they grew up side by side, developing a bond that's as complicated as it is inseparable. Now, as young adults, they face their final test to become bracers, members of a guild dedicated to helping ordinary people with everything from odd jobs to dangerous crises. With their father away on a mission, they begin taking on requests in his place, only to find themselves caught up in events far larger than they could have imagined. A lot of people wondered if this was going to be another Final Fantasy VII Remake situation, where the story gets retold or reimagined in some big, sweeping way. But for a series like Trails, that just wouldn't make sense. Later entries rely so heavily on details established several games prior that you simply can't pull one entry apart and reshape it without breaking everything that follows. What makes the first chapter remake so impressive then is how well it balances its other changes. It brings the world and its characters to life through Falcom's modern 3D engine, making everything feel more vivid and immersive than ever before. It expands the localization and voice acting, delivering stronger characterization and heightening the impact of its storytelling. And it refines the gameplay, addressing FC's earlier balancing quirks while introducing the Daybreak series' highly praised hybrid system. Despite all of this, First Chapter never loses the heart of the original, and because of those careful choices, it feels more than just a remake. It feels like the version of First Chapter that was always meant to stand alongside the original's legacy. Of course, the biggest changes, and in my opinion, the most important, are found in the gameplay. Adapting Daybreak's hybrid system onto Trails in the Sky could easily throw off the original's careful balance. With 2 Daybreak entries and a third arriving in the West next year already using this combat engine, First Chapter marks Falcom's latest iteration of it. The result isn't some radical reinvention, but a refreshing twist that gives the combat a different flavor while still respecting the original's balance. Compared to last year's Metaphor Refantasio, Falcom's hybrid system doesn't feel like a transitional phase between action and turn-based play, as it treats both as equally valid approaches. In Metaphor, action mostly exists to dispatch weaker enemies quickly or to set up turn-based encounters. In First Chapter, action combat involves the entire party, not just a single character, making it feel like a system designed to stand on its own. The result is more freedom in how you play. You can stick with action for a faster pace, but some enemies, especially those resistant or too quick for physical attacks, can drag fights out unless you switch tactics. That's where character choice really matters. Quick enemies, for example, might require Joshua in action mode, since his rapid combos are timed perfectly to connect where slower strikes would whiff. Learning which characters excel in action combat gives this style of play more depth than the usual button mashing found in many action RPGs, making every encounter feel like a small puzzle of timing and matchups. Or, if you'd rather take a more deliberate approach, the tried and true turn-based system is always right there. It plays almost exactly like FC's original combat, relying not only exploiting weaknesses and controlling the timeline, but also on smart positioning. Where you place your party on the field can mean the difference between avoiding a devastating attack or setting up your own, whether it's clustering allies to trigger supportive abilities, spacing out to dodge area of effect attacks, or lining up enemies for a straight line strike. All of these factors work together to create battles that can feel unpredictable in the moment, but deeply satisfying when everything clicks, like a well-choreographed dance. What makes this system shine, though, is how action and turn-based don't just sit side by side. They feed into each other. For example, against tougher enemies that take forever to whittle down with physical attacks, I'll often stay in action mode with all my characters just to build up CP. Once I've got them maxed out and managed to dizzy the enemy, I'll swap into turn-based combat, unload everyone's S-crafts in one big burst, and then slip right back into action mode to rebuild for the next round. Or, in the opposite case, if I'm in turn-based and realize I'm running low on CP, I'll drop back into action mode and grind it out with standard attacks until my party is ready to go again. It creates this back-and-forth rhythm where each mode complements the other, and it makes every fight feel like an opportunity to express your own style. Naturally, there are other additions that make this flow even better, like the Bravery gauge, which lets you spend points on powerful combo attacks and follow-ups, or the more responsive dodge and evasion mechanics while in action mode. Together, they help First Chapter's combat feel contemporary, while still delivering the raw flexibility that sets it apart from Metaphor. But I should add the caveat that this style of gameplay isn't available for major boss encounters, including powerful enemy variants that roam on the field. And we can't talk about combat without bringing up Orbments, the devices that let you slot in quartz to unlock and cast arts. I've seen people describe the Orbment system as a more complicated version of Final Fantasy VII's Materia system, and that's not far off. The big difference is that it's not just about which quartz you slot in, but where you slot it. Certain slots are locked to specific colors, and the overall arrangement of elements across lines determines which arts you can actually use. In FC, that could feel overwhelming for newcomers. First Chapter smooths that out with interface improvements that clearly show how your choices affect available arts, making the system easier to understand without stripping away its depth. It's the kind of quality of life refinement that gives longtime fans the freedom to tinker, while also giving newcomers the confidence to jump in and experiment. All of these refinements, whether it's the freedom of the hybrid combat or the streamlined Orbment system, feed into the bigger picture of exploration. And exploration itself has grown far more expansive in First Chapter compared to FC. Unlike the original 2D presentation, First Chapter's 3D environments are more sprawling, which can make exploration take a little longer. Fortunately, Falcom balances this with quality-of-life features. You've got a dedicated run button, a high-speed mode that speeds up both exploration and combat, and plenty of checkpoints that double as fast travel locations, often with full HP/EP recovery spots. On top of that, the game lets you save anywhere, which is something worth praising outright. Not only does it remove the pressure of having to reach the next town before quitting, but it also gives you flexibility with multiple save slots, and even creates a save at the end of every chapter. That way, if you miss a quest or objective, you can always load from the beginning of that chapter and try again. Combined with Trail's trademark evolving NPC dialogue and the larger environments that hide treasures, monster chests, and tucked-away nooks, exploration feels rewarding and alive. Familiar areas from FC now feel more organic and immersive in 3D, making it easier than ever to lose yourself in Liberl. And while the expanded exploration already makes Liberl feel larger than ever, what really brings it to life is the presentation. First Chapter takes FC's sprite work and 2D art and reimagines them in 3D with a vibrancy that feels instantly inviting. Estelle bursts with fiery reds and oranges that match her personality, while Joshua's cooler palette emphasizes his calm, collected demeanor. Scheherazade carries the same sultry curves and flowing elegance that made her stand out in FC's art, and Olivier's design exudes a refined elegance, full of flamboyant confidence that makes him immediately stand out. The vibrancy of the colors makes the world pop, giving each character and town a warmth that invites you in. That's where it stands in contrast to Daybreak. Built on the same engine, Daybreak often leans into cooler, more subdued tones, polished but sometimes a little too clean. In First Chapter, those warmer colors are a direct inheritance from FC's art design, and they make the world feel more welcoming and alive. Whether you're a veteran who knows these characters by heart or a newcomer stepping into Liberl for the first time, seeing the game in motion is almost unbelievable. It simply looks better than it has any right to. And as for the audio, First Chapter expands on voice acting in meaningful ways, while also sticking to a Trails tradition. Important characters get voiced in key moments, even if not every NPC or major line is fully acted. You can choose between Japanese and English VA, and I've come to appreciate the English cast over time. Michelle Ruff, one of my all-time favorite voice actresses, brings such warmth and presence to Scheherazade, while Matthew Mercer is always great in what he does, and his Olivier has that perfect mix of charm and confidence. Stephanie Sheh nails Estelle, from her fiery spirit to her quieter, heartfelt moments, and Johnny Ong Bosch brings Joshua to life with a cool, grounded edge that contrasts with Estelle in all the right ways. On top of that, you get multiple music options: the original FC soundtrack, a brand new rendition recorded for this remake, and even an arrangement album with live instruments. Having those choices is fantastic, and it shows Falcom knows how much the Trails soundscape means to its fans, and it makes the whole experience feel that much richer. And this is why the balance First Chapter strikes is so impressive. Falcom understood how revered FC was, and they knew they couldn't miss. And they didn't. This remake proves that Falcom still holds true to the values that defined Trails back in 2004. That commitment to world building, to character, to building something unforgettable. And if there was ever any doubt that they could pull this off, First Chapter puts all of that to rest. All this did was make me want to jump into Second Chapter even more.